fast-paced run-and-gun offense. One player already standing out is Sophie Cunningham, who arrived in Indiana via Phoenix.
The fever moments that defined Sophie Cunningham and Coach Karima's birthday celebration weren't just about basketball, though the court was still the backdrop. They were about energy, camaraderie, and the way sports culture transforms personal milestones into shared rituals. Sophie, always the spark plug, brought the same fiery edge she shows in crunch time threes and staredowns, while Coach Karima carried the steady weight of leadership, finally allowing herself to be celebrated rather than doing the celebrating for others. What unfolded was less a birthday party and more a fevered dream of connection, laughter, and competition, one of those moments people would talk about long after the final candle was blown out. It began with Sophie's own mischievous streak. Friends and teammates knew she wasn't the type to settle for a polite dinner or a quiet get-together. A birthday, especially when shared with a coach she admired, demanded spectacle. The planning started weeks ahead, with coded texts bouncing back and forth between players, trainers, and friends. Sophie leaned into her natural role as hype machine, convincing everyone that this wasn't just a night out but a chapter in their shared story, something that had to feel larger than life. She wasn't wrong. When the day finally arrived, there was a buzz even before the official kickoff. Teammates whispered about what Sophie had planned, and fans who'd caught snippets on social media speculated about whether it would be a wild night in town or something closer to the locker room chaos that players often turn into legends. The answer, in true Sophie fashion, was both. The first act unfolded at practice. As drills wrapped, Sophie walked onto the court with a grin too wide to ignore, motioning for everyone to gather at midcourt. She pulled out a cake, gaudy, colorful, dripping with sparklers, and pointed straight at Coach Karima. For once, the coach wasn't in control. Karima, usually so composed, laughed as the players circled her. They broke into a chant that mixed playful mockery with genuine love. "Birthday coach, birthday coach." It wasn't the kind of thing you'd find in a scouting report, but it set the tone. Players are rarely afforded the chance to flip roles with their coaches, yet on this day Karima was no longer the strategist with the clipboard, she was the one being rallied around, celebrated, and teased. Sophie led the charge, smearing a bit of frosting on her own cheek, daring the rest to escalate. And they did. Soon enough, Karima's sharp suit jacket had a streak of icing, and practice had turned into a sugar-fueled riot. But Sophie knew the real fever moment was still to come. That evening, the team gathered again, this time off the hardwood. The venue was low-lit, intimate, buzzing with the kind of anticipation that makes every laugh ring louder. Decorations carried inside jokes, miniature basketballs scattered across tables, balloons shaped like flaming threes, and banners that read "Unstoppable Energy" in bold letters. To Sophie, those words weren't just for her, they were her way of honoring Karima too. Coach might not play anymore, but her impact pulsed through every timeout, every halftime adjustment, every quiet moment of encouragement.
I think the thing I'm most excited about is just kind of finding my voice as a coach. Last year was just a little bit of an intro, trying to figure things out and get a balance.
The music kicked in, and Sophie took the mic like she was introducing a playoff starting lineup. She rattled off memories of Karima's sternest moments, then undercut them with jokes about how quickly that stern look could break into laughter when the cameras weren't around. The crowd roared, not just at the humor but at the vulnerability of seeing their coach through Sophie's eyes.
Pace run-and-gun offense. One player already standing out is Sophie Cunningham, who arrived in Indiana via Phoenix.
Karima, meanwhile, shook her head with mock exasperation, but everyone could see the pride. Few players have the kind of fearless charisma Sophie does, and fewer coaches allow their players to celebrate them so openly. As the night deepened, the energy turned into something else: dancing, storytelling, the blur of moments that feel suspended outside of time. Sophie took center stage, not to steal the spotlight, but to amplify it for everyone around her. She moved from group to group, ensuring no one felt left out, even as her own laughter cut through the music. Karima, often the steady compass, finally let herself drift, soaking in what it meant to be surrounded by people who didn't just respect her, but adored her. Then came the moment that sealed it. A projector lit up the back wall with a highlight reel. At first, it was Sophie's trademark shots, clutch threes, fiery celebrations, moments when her intensity flipped the course of a game.
Sophie Cunningham's personality may be big, but her impact on the Indiana Fever will be bigger.
But then the reel shifted. Photos of Karima coaching through storms of pressure, guiding rookies through rough patches, celebrating with quiet dignity after hard-fought wins. The room stilled. It wasn't just a party trick, it was a testament. Sophie had orchestrated it, blending her own fire with Karima's foundation, proving that their shared birthday was more than coincidence. It was a metaphor, player and coach, spark and anchor, both vital, both unforgettable. The applause was thunderous, but more than that, it was emotional. Tears mixed with laughter. Even those who weren't usually sentimental found themselves clapping harder, smiling wider. Fever moments, after all, aren't always about the scoreboard. They're about the stories we write together, the legacies we stitch in between practices and games. That night, Sophie and Karima's birthday became a symbol of what the team meant to each other, a family bound by more than contracts or seasons. And as the candles were lit one more time, Sophie leaned into the glow, her voice carrying over the din. This isn't just about me, or about Coach. It's about all of us. Every moment we fight, every moment we celebrate. We make each other unforgettable. Karima, no longer the reserved coach but the heart of the night, nodded with a smile that said everything words couldn't. The party stretched late, but the energy never dipped. People spilled into conversations about games past, about battles won and lost, about the strange beauty of being part of something bigger. Sophie, despite being at the center, never hoarded attention. She radiated it outward, turning the night into a constellation of shared joy.
Not to bring up last night, but another tough one.
We just started off so slow. Our energy level was not there, but we made a huge comeback.
And Karima, often cast as the disciplinarian, embraced her role as the night's hero, proof that leadership doesn't just demand respect, it earns love. By the time the night wound down, with balloons sagging and the last song fading, no one wanted to leave. It wasn't the food, or the drinks, or even the music that made it unforgettable. It was the fever itself, the kind that doesn't burn out, but instead embeds itself into memory.
It's like kind of rhythm was a little bit off, and we'll be fine, but it takes a little bit. I don't know. You just have to be able to gel and click, and that's the first time we all played together ever.
Long after, teammates would joke about the frosting fight, fans would recall the highlight reel, and both Sophie and Karima would look back knowing that their birthdays had transcended personal milestones. They had become part of the fever's lore. Sophie Cunningham's fire and Coach Karima's grounding presence had always been complementary forces. But on that day, in that celebration, they fused into something larger, a story of energy, family, and the rare magic of moments that refuse to fade. The kind of night that makes you realize the game isn't just about wins and losses. It's about people, about the joy they create, and about the fever moments that make life unforgettable.